All right, let's just break the fourth wall right out of the gate for this explainer. I want you to look around for a second. The world you see, the rules you follow every day, the boundaries of your life, what if they're literally just a script? Today, we are going to explore something mind-bending. We're looking at how the Trickster archetype is basically the ultimate tool to glitch out your consensus reality, spark what we call a Mimetic Awakening, and actually help you reclaim your mental health and narrative agency. So I gotta ask you directly, whose story are you living right now? Are you just reading off a rigid, inherited script that society handed to you, or are you actually writing your own? You see, the trap of consensus reality is that we usually don't even realize we're playing a pre-assigned character until something comes along and shatters the illusion. And that something is exactly what we're breaking down today. Now, it's super easy to dismiss the Trickster as just some mythical prankster, right? Like a Bugs Bunny type or a literal court jester. But the source material we're synthesizing here reveals something way more profound. The Trickster isn't just a myth, it's an active intervention. Think of it as a spiritual technology built for psychological survival. It is quite literally meant to wake us up whenever the cultural boxes we live in become just too rigid and suffocating. To understand how to actually use this technology, consider this explainer your personal survival guide for the liminal space. Here's our map for today. We'll start with the archetypal architecture, then look at glitching consensus reality, move into the Mimetic Awakening, see how that applies to agency and mental recovery, and finally wrap up with waking up as Storyteller. Okay, Section 1, the archetypal architecture, Trickster, Fool, and Madman. So what do the Trickster, the Fool, and the Madman all have in common? Well, they are the ultimate boundary crossers. They completely embody paradox, they have these totally unrestrained appetites, and they deliberately disrupt societal taboos. They're creators, but they're also destroyers. By using cunning and what historical sources sometimes refer to as holy folly, they basically blow up the rigid, overly rational structures that the rest of us just blindly follow. They're the ones who will, laugh at a funeral or speak the uncomfortable taboo truth right to the king's face. They show us that madness can actually hold a sort of unconventional wisdom. It's a necessary, almost playful chaos that perfectly balances out extreme order. And when we look at the cross-cultural evidence, we see this incredible multicultural mosaic of the Trickster. Scholarly excerpts track just how widespread this figure is, from Native American lore to West African myths, all the way to Japanese Shinto. We also see the real magic of taboo violation. Whether you're talking about Coyote, the West African Anansi, the Greek Hermes, or the Yoruba Eshu, this proves the Trickster's not just some localized myth. It's a universal human psychological mechanism. And surprisingly, violating taboos is exactly what gives them their magical power. Moving right along into Section 2, glitching consensus reality. To really get how these archetypes operate, we have to compare two very different realms. Think of consensus reality on one hand. This is governed by strict Aristotelian logic. Things are either A or they're not A. It's binary, it's rigid, everything is neatly categorized. But on the flip side is liminal space. This is that ambiguous, transitional, betwixt-and-between realm. It completely defies the rules. And this dangerous but totally magical space is the domain of the Trickster, where the rigid rules of reality just flat out do not apply. Why does this matter to us? Well, because we all inevitably face these confusing, in-between moments in our own lives, where the old rules stop working, but the new ones haven't been written yet. I absolutely love how scholar Lewis Hyde describes the Trickster. He calls him the spirit of the doorway leading out and of the crossroad at the edge of town. He is the spirit of the road at dusk. They are the guardians of the threshold. They stand right on that razor's edge between the sane and the mad, the internal and external worlds, and they flat out refuse to let us stay comfortable in our constructive little boxes. You can really see the literary foundation of this archetype in Bloom's literary themes. The Trickster injects multiple perspectives to challenge anything that feels stultifying or overly prescriptive in literature. From Shakespeare's Fools to Mark Twain's Huckleberry Finn, these characters act as a literal literary glitch. They force the reader out of a single flattening perspective. So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that this glitch in the matrix isn't just about causing chaos for the fun of it. It serves a deeply vital purpose. The Trickster provides institutionalized rebellion. They subvert authority and violate taboos not to burn society to the ground, but to reveal that culture itself is artificial. By breaking the rules, they prove the rules are totally made up. Just think about the rules you followed today. How many of them are just artificial culture? Realizing that is a real game changer. It suddenly opens up massive space for entirely new possibilities in our own lives. Which brings us to section 3, and the climax of our explainer, the Mimetic Awakening. Scholar Andrew Widgett hits the nail on the head here. He says, Trickster functions not so much to call cultural categories into question as to demonstrate the artificiality of culture itself. In literature, when a character realizes they are inside a story, they're called a meta-narrator. Well, the Trickster has this exact metafictional awareness. And that realization that the culture surrounding you is literally just a story someone else wrote, that mirrors the exact psychological awakening we desperately need in our own daily lives. So what does this mimetic awakening actually look like? It happens in steps. You start out as a passive character, just blindly following the script, but then, by adopting a trickster mindset, you level up into a meta-narrator. You start to actually notice all those internalized oppressive stories dictating your life, what we might call Gutenberg glitches, or the rigid text we mistakenly believe we have to follow. And finally, you disrupt those narratives to become the sovereign storyteller. You take back your narrative agency. All right, section 4, agency and mental recovery. This is where things get incredibly practical for clinical psychology. Just look at the stark contrast between these two mindsets when it comes to mental health recovery. A rigid mindset is univocal. It flattens reality and completely panics when things go off script. But a trickster mindset? It's multivalent. It's fluid. It actively integrates anomalies, trauma, and chaos instead of just trying to suppress them. Integrating your inner trickster builds immense psychological resilience because it lets you turn the chaotic mess of life into a creative narrative rather than just accepting it as a definitive tragedy. Viewed through this lens, recovery actually becomes a creative act. It's about evading those rigid diagnostic categories that can make you feel trapped. It's about blurring the strict lines between what's sane and what's mad, and really leaning into ambiguity. In a clinical sense, this holy folly helps people heal. You learn to play creatively with the untidiness of the world, doing this sort of linguistic alchemy of self-reconstruction, instead of just breaking under the impossible pressure of trying to keep reality perfectly orderly. Let's pull this all together in our final section, waking up as storyteller. The ultimate lesson of the trickster is making this massive transition from the trap to the tapestry. We go from being a trapped, passive character in a script written by society or our parents or our trauma to actually becoming the sovereign author of our own reality. The trickster teaches us that if the rules are constructed, well, they can be reconstructed. The constraints you feel right now, they're literally just raw material for your own storytelling. I want to wrap up our thematic analysis with this incredibly resonant quote from Carl Carini. He wrote, "Disorder belongs to the totality of life. The trickster's function is to add disorder to order, and so make a whole." It's a beautiful paradox, isn't it? The trickster uses apparent madness, role-breaking, and disorder to actually create profound health, resilience, and wholeness. Order alone is just a prison. We all need a little disorder to be truly free. So, as we end this explainer, I want to leave you with a final provocative question to chew on today. Look closely at your life, your habits, those boundaries you think you absolutely can't cross. Are you just reading a script handed to you? Or are you finally ready to invite the trickster in and start writing your own?